So taking an epic journey, our next speaker of the day has some great stories to tell after he sold everything and took his young family on a globe-spanning adventure. His documentary, Raising Global Citizens, looks at how we can raise the next generation of travelers who are socially curious and culturally curious. Please welcome Joel Primus.
Not on yet? We good? Can everybody hear me? Well, this is very exciting. This is very, very exciting. The journey that I took to be standing on this stage today, well, there we go. The journey that I took to be standing on this stage today, it's about 18 years long, and at times more treacherous than a bus trip I once took from Belize to Guatemala City, which was the first time I attempted to make this documentary. But a little bit of history first. So growing up, I used to be a long-distance runner, and I was really fortunate. I got to represent Canada internationally. I had a full-ride scholarship. You can see from this photo just how much I enjoyed the sport of running. But unfortunately, I ended up rupturing my Achilles, and my running career came to an end, so I was forced to reinvent myself. So I decided to hitchhike across Canada, and when I got to the other side, I went to Thailand for some peaceful, meditative reflection. But all joking aside, travel really was this life-changing experience, one that I wanted to capture on film and share with the world. So when I was 22 years old, my brother and I, we bought 2 video cameras, and we set out from Mexico to make a film about the importance of travel. Which brings me back to my bus story. Now, I'm sure that many of you here are familiar with the various classes of buses in Latin America. So I was on the conventional bus, which is occasionally referred to as the chicken bus, and is about the farthest thing one can imagine from Emirates first class Boeing 777. But it wasn't so much that like the areas that we were in were treacherous or anything like that. You see, on the conventional bus, the seats, they don't exactly recline. And I had, for the first time in my life, mind you, taken a sleeping pill. Or at least I think it was a sleeping pill. I had purchased it from a little roadside pharmacy using nothing but hand gestures. I mean, sure, you know how that goes. You're like this and what with the bumps and the twists and the turns and all. Somewhere in the middle of the night, I find myself unable to sleep. So using what can only be deemed as clear-headed judgment, I decide it would be best to climb up into the overhead luggage rack so that I can stretch out. Now, after some, stealthy maneuvering, once I'm up there, I remember making eye contact with this lovely Guatemalan woman who was reading under a lamp. You know that look of disappointment, Anyway, no sooner am I up there than the bus comes to a screeching halt, and I see red and blue lights flashing outside the windows, and the police board the bus. Now, my mind starts racing on this sketchy sleeping pill. I'm like, how did they know I was up here? Did the woman rat me out? Maybe they're just talking to the bus driver. No. Literally, they begin an inspection of the overhead racks. Now I'm right in there. There's like a post here, and I can't just roll down. So I decide it would be best to hot dog myself against the back wall and putting some purses in front of me, deluded into thinking that somebody who is trained to look for the tiniest signs of something suspect is not going to notice a full-grown man up there. Well, you can imagine his surprise when his flashlight meets this stowaway gringo's face, right? Anyway, a few months later, we're in Lima, Peru, and I am in need of some underwear. Now, I end up buying some underwear from a street vendor. Stick with me here, okay? It's gorgeous. This underwear is so much nicer than anything my mom ever bought me growing up. And these wheels in my head, they start turning. Now, as fate would have it, one of our video cameras gets locked up in Peruvian customs, and the other falls off a cliff in Bolivia. So my brother, he decides that this whole filming thing is ruining this whole traveling thing, and he takes off to Holland for some R&R. Thus, our project and our trip, it comes to an early end. So when I get home, naturally, I get into the business of making underwear. Now, once I actually figured out how to make underwear, I was invited onto a television program called Dragon's Den. Now, you might know the program as Shark Tank or Lion's Den. It's the one where you pitch the panel of investors your business idea. So I get to Toronto, and the producers of the show say, "We think it would be best if you did the pitch in your underwear." The photo of which I've spared you here, of course. Just kidding. Why is it stuck here, right? It was a success, though, which led to a growing company, and I was really fortunate. I got to move my family from Vancouver to New York. The company uplisted onto the NASDAQ. It was wonderful. But while I was there, I got news that my dear friend, the person I'd actually been to Thailand with, had died, leaving behind 2 young girls the same age as mine. And for as long as I could remember, I had just poured myself into my work, and I hadn't been a present father. And so his death, it struck at the heart of that truth. And it's cliche, I know, but death really does show us and teach us just how precious life is. And so my wife and I, we decided that we were going to drop everything, and we were going to travel the world, and we were going to make a film about it. And we were going to dedicate it to my friends so that one day, years later, his girls could see that movie and see just how important travel was to him. Incidentally, the year that we decided to go, the media had deemed it the year of fear, warning against travel due to terrorist activity and what have you. So you can imagine the looks we received when we told people we were taking our kids to, Lebanon. Here's a little clip from the intro to the film.
Life has a way of slapping you awake when you've been asleep. It's not always kind, but it's honest. My friend and former travel companion passed away unexpectedly. His name was Cam. We traveled to Vietnam as young men and been friends ever since. He had 2 little girls like me. I was broken open. Cam used to tell me that life was what you made of it. It was up to us to build the lives we wanted. And he believed in the importance of travel. So after some time, my wife and I decided that maybe we'd just go traveling as a family. And we sold our Jeep, drained what little savings we had, and began traveling and filming this movie. In the beginning, it's a hard thing to just take off. It's inconvenient. There's this idea of the way we're supposed to live life, take vacations at a certain time, and it seemed like the world had changed. Nationalist movements were sweeping the nation, and talks of walls being built, talks of fear in the media. It was like the world was too dangerous now. And we asked ourselves, what would that mean for our daughters? You can go crazy thinking about what is right or wrong to do for them. But ultimately, you just have to make a decision. And when you do, you find this beautiful freedom. And suddenly there's this incredible opening of possibility. You adapt to a new way of living. You're changed by it. Being in motion, experiencing the new and discovering the world, not through the news feed, but for yourself and through the eyes of other people. And eventually you start to crave the world. It becomes part of you again, even if it's taken away.
Thank you. So in his seminal book, The Lion Tracker's Guide to Life, author Boyd Vardy shares a perspective about the tracks that we follow in life. Quote, "As paradoxical as it sounds, going down a path and not finding a track is part of finding a track. His tracking partners call this the path of not here, where no action is considered a waste, and the key is to just keep moving and readjusting yourself. The path of not here is part of the path of here. On my own journey, an injury that ends a running career, a first attempt at making a documentary film, becoming an underwear line, and a tragic death, becoming a trip around the world. So when I was asked to come speak here about Raising Global Citizens, the film, and how travel impacts the lives of children, this concept came to mind because travel really is about the path of not here. Now, with a show of hands, how many of you have children? Wonderful. Now, just out of curiosity, with a show of hands again, is raising kids harder than working in your industry? Just no. Okay, there we go. There we go. So one of our guiding ambitions when we're raising children is to give them a better life than we had, and to share our lessons and so that they may learn from them. But one of the things that I've found in my own parenting is through the giving of the better life, I give them my expectations. And through the sharing of my lessons, I give them my wounds. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands this time. Let this one sit with you on your heart. Have you ever found yourself saying about your children, I just wish they would fill in the blank? You see, I found this to be particularly true of myself when we were filming Raising Global Citizens. I just wanted my kids to see and experience the world the way that I wanted them to see and experience the world. And boy, oh boy, did I want people to see how worldly they were. I hate to say it, but in the age of the internet, like travel, or at least posting about it, it can be a bit like moral grandstanding, and like travel with children, that's like the Mount Everest of enlightened parenting flexes. But sometimes, no matter where we are in the world, we've carried with us in our baggage this expectation that this travel is going to make our kids better in the way that we want them to be better. And in this way, I am guilty of traveling with my kids in so that they can see some right version of how to live. I'm guilty of wanting this travel to turn them into better students, humanitarians, lovers of exotic food, so that I can go to a dinner party and say, well, my kids will eat anything. You know, right? But wasn't it exactly the opposite that we were seeking? We wanted to know a different way from our parents. It was the path of not here that we followed when we packed our bag and took that gap year and set off into the wild and beautiful and unknown world. And it is that same path that we offer our children as well. Maybe through travel, our kid becomes a really dedicated beach bum, finally taken a breath from that exhausting march they've just been on from kindergarten to grade 12. Maybe through travel, they come to appreciate the principles behind a movement like Make America Great Again. Or at least they understand why somebody else might. Maybe they've seen the smog in Shanghai, but they don't want to drive a Tesla. What if in the face of our new age spirituality or our modern atheism, in a quiet church in Italy, our child encounters the story of Christ in a way that softens their heart and opens them to faith? Or in a village in Jordan, they hear the call to prayer echo through the streets, and they feel this mysterious stirring that one day, years later, leads them towards Islam. Or in a Hindu temple in India, they witness something mystical that moves them from intellect into awe, inspiring them to no longer chase worldly possessions. You see, the aim of travel isn't to make us into any one thing. Travel doesn't aim to turn us into Democrats or Republicans. Travel doesn't aim to turn us into entrepreneurs or shamans. Travel doesn't care. It strips us of our labels and it reminds us we are simply human. Why would we, through travel, offer this broad world view for our children, only so that we can narrow it back down to a right one? Instead, why not use travel to remove the censor of our own society, and so that our children may learn through experience what wonders and ideas the communities of the world hold sacred? When the Maasai warrior cuts the throat of an animal, do we not marvel at how they honor and live by these olden traditions? But if the Michigan hunter or Arkansas farmer do the same, what judgment might we feel? You see, I find for myself it's so easy to slip into commending the ancient ways of one community while condemning the old fashioned of another. When we have anxiety, one of the simplest known remedies is to gaze toward an expansive view. You see, this helps settle the nervous system when it feels threatened and trapped and confined. This is one of the reasons that travel feels so good, because stepping into the broader communities of the world makes us feel expansive. And in this way, through travel, we are not offering our children a path of what to think, but a path of how to be curious, how to ask questions, how to see the expansive view, so that one day, on their own journeys through life, if they say stumble across a member of the flat earth community, instead of scoffing at this human's worldview, they say, let's sit down and have a conversation. I want to know how and why you think the way you do. But even here, I am teetering dangerously close to expectation. You can see how easy that is. The truth is, my daughters have seen refugee camps in Lebanon and slums in Buenos Aires, and they still just want cool clothes, a phone, and to fit in. As do I. They've wandered the Arctic tundra and they've gazed at the northern lights, and they still just want to go on a normal vacation to a resort on a beach. But don't we all sometimes? They've eaten street food in Saigon, but if we say order sushi back home, it's a California roll. They have been to Shinto shrines in Tokyo, and my 3-year-old still named her Stuffy. Fuck. But I'm pretty sure she didn't learn that in Japan. Here's a clip of my daughters learning about the civil war in Lebanon. My friend Mira Rahman took us out for a traditional Lebanese breakfast to help us settle in. Having lived through many of the country's conflicts, she was able to give us some insight into what makes it the place it is today.
The war started in 1975.
How old were you?
I was born in the war. I was born in 1973, just before the clash, few months before the clash of the war. And I grew up hearing all these different sounds. I used to come home and study. I didn't have electricity at home. I used to study with the light of the candle. And mom refused to go out, to leave the house. She used to tell me, well, you sit in the corner with your brother, you read the book, and whatever happens, happens. If we're meant to live, we will live, and if we're meant to die, we will die all together. So I never knew what a shelter is. But I remember one day it got really harsh. The whole street was out of the houses, and it was just me, my mom, and my little brother who was 1 year old. And we had to leave the house because all the everything, like all the glasses were destroyed, broken. And I remember that we packed and we had to walk for 45 minutes to reach my aunt's house under the bombs. And so I was.
So you were out in the streets?
Yes, my mom was carrying my little brother because he was 1 year old, and I was running with her, carrying a suitcase. And just 5 minutes after leaving the house, a bomb came inside the house, where we were.
Your house?
Yes. And whenever I pass through that house, I still see the sign of this bomb that came into it.
When you grow up having lived through that, how does it change how you see the world?
Because this is what makes the Lebanese people fighters. Because we always look at the positive side. It gives you strength and resilience. And resilience is very important in life. Because no matter what happened, we were able to move on, stand up again and move on. When you meet other cultures, other civilizations who haven't been through that, you feel that you can adapt anywhere. You can go anywhere and just adapt because you've been through the worst. I think the lesson that Lebanon can teach the world is that you can still smile and live and have fun and enjoy life through it all. We still have problems, we still have issues, we still have lots of contradictory differences between each other as Lebanese, but we're still living with each other. And as you see, like we go out, we have fun, we laugh, we live.
So that was really impactful. What do you think my daughter took away from that?
How would I ever forget the lamb brains?
That's what she remembers, that we ate lamb brain at that meal. We're still working through the trauma of that. Through my failings as a parent and the making of this film, I have learned that we don't travel so that our children can become who we want them to become. We do it so that they can know who they want to become. And when or if they lose their track in life, hopefully their travel will have offered them a map, and so that they can see the expansive view and continue to find their way. As the poet Khalil Gibran said on children, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself, and though they come through you, yet they belong not to you. And you may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. And you may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. And in doing so, I might add that they dwell in the unique communities that make up this world, and when we offer them through travel the path that is not here, all those invisible lines between our different ways of life, they begin to disappear. And we start to see how all the moments of our life and the lives of others are connected. And we awaken to a very simple truth. We are already part of a global community, one woven together not by our sameness, expectations, or what should be, but by our shared humanity. Now, how do we know that they're learning this? Well, my wife says it better than me.
I think that when people say that the girls are maybe too young, or their own children are maybe too young to take anything in from an experience like travel with a family, I'd say you never really know what they're taking in or what they're not taking in. All kinds of experiences shape children in different ways. And if anything, what I do know is that it shaped us as a family. So the way that we work as a family has been deeply changed and affected by our travel experiences. So what we have learned, what Joel and I bring to our family, is affected by the experiences we had when we traveled. Even if Roman, for example, she was 2 in some of it, 3 in some of it. So even though she won't remember specific details that maybe Joel and I will still remember, she still has it ingrained in her body that happened to her, and that her family does something different now because of the travel, or we've thought differently because of the culture we experienced. So it's ongoing. It doesn't stop because you've done your travel.
Hi, Pia.
Hey!
It's in you.
How are you,
It
girls?
just exists as you move on.
De la Venise, babe.
She ran away.
Albert Einstein once said the most important decision we make is whether we live in a friendly or hostile universe. We like to keep that in mind when we're talking about the world to our children. Do we teach them that the world is friendly and deserving of generosity and understanding? Or do we teach them to be fearful and guard what's theirs? We think we know the answer, and we think travel is a great way to remind ourselves of it. So next time, trade in one of your typical vacations for a place that will challenge you, even if it isn't the most pristine destination, or even if it's super far away. It is so easy to fear or turn a blind eye to what we don't know and don't understand. We can't do that anymore. We can't pretend that we don't share this world, that we aren't more connected than we've ever been, and that we are not reliant on each other. No, the world isn't a perfect place, but there is far less bad out there than there is incredible good. The real danger lies in thinking we are not citizens of the world. And that starts with us teaching our children. It's hard now to see exactly how the things our kids experience traveling might impact them as they grow up. All we can hope is that our children do a little better than we did. Be better at loving each other, better at accepting and understanding each other, better at cherishing our environment. Who knows? Maybe they won't remember most of it, but Jenna and I have a suspicion that parts of this journey will stay with them forever.
Thank you.